All right, we will get this started. I know it's just a little bit before 3:30, but need to make sure that I can get the 4:15 middle school Fortnite lobby up and running in time. So this is the spring onboarding session here to go over the spring titles for 2025. Just a couple of quick housekeeping things. If you're watching this, if you could please remove old inactive teams, just so that way they're not accidentally added to the season or the correct team has been chosen. I do recommend that if you have seniors still on your rosters, you can just remove them from your league spot account. Just because, again, it sometimes creates confusion as to which team should be entered. A reminder again, varsity and JV titles need to be played at school or at an approved off-site location, which may be a gaming lounge, a YMCA, or some other off-site facility that your school has approved. If you are approved to play at an off-site facility, if you could just give me some sort of indication as to where, so that way we understand that. And again, must be under the supervision of a school approved staff member. That may be a parent, it could be a teacher, it could be even an administrator. So, um, the two main titles for spring are Valorant and League of Legends again. There are some community tournaments. I actually have a special announcement that I can make on this one too, but essentially, Valorant is a 5-on-5 tactical FPS. So kind of similar in a sense to Overwatch, like we ran in the fall. We will be playing on PC, so there is no crossplay. So again, this is why it is important that you play at school, because if some of your students have an Xbox or a PlayStation at home that they play from, they will not be able to join your team or play in a competitive season. Students can bring in controllers if they're used to playing in controllers and connect those to your PC via Bluetooth or wired connection. General reminder of no emotes, dances, sprays, tags, um, just from a sportsmanship perspective. And if you have a naysayer of they can do it in the pros, this is not the pros, is my gentle reminder. Um, Valorant during the regular season is a best of one. Um, Once we get deeper into the playoffs, then there's a best of three format, and I'll explain why that we've chosen that as well. Varsity is Tuesdays at 4 o'clock. It will say 3:45 on League Spot, and that is just to allow you to be able to go ahead and check in as early as 3:30. But matches are slated to start at 4. If you don't receive communication from your opponent by 4:15, that's when you should flag a moderator on League Spot, and we can go ahead and help you out there. JV is Thursdays, also at 4 o'clock, but the difference is it uses the auto matcher. And so what you'll do with your team is you will check in. There is a red check in or join session button from your perspective on the season. You can click that between 3 and 3:59, and you'll be automatically assigned an opponent at 4 p.m. Once the round starts, you cannot join. You cannot get a team in there. So again, it is important that you check in between 3 and 3:59. You do have to have 5 players on your roster with their Riot ID in order to be able to check in and complete your game. So that is one important housekeeping thing for you when you're adding players, is to get them to connect their Riot ID. Otherwise, you will have an ineligible roster. And the Riot ID is important when it comes to scouting. Some players and some teams like to do their research and see who likes to play which characters, and it gives them a way in order to strategize for upcoming map play. Match day procedures, same as always. Left listed team is considered to be home. If you're looking on mobile, that would be the team that's listed on the top. So you're in charge of making the lobby and communicating with your opponent in order to invite them. You get to pick whether or not you are attacking or defending for the map. And we highly encourage you to use the League Spot match chat to coordinate instructions so that there is a record of communication. So if we go back and we see a game hasn't been played, we can go into League Spot and be like, oh, yeah, they were having this problem, or school was unexpectedly canceled, or something along those lines. You can also reschedule on League Spot if you come to it. I want to preface as well, always have subs. Have 2 to 3 sub players if you can. Your 2 or 3 players that maybe not there are not a reason to request a reschedule, right? That's why we have subs for all games and sports. We have a map rotation, so all maps are pre-assigned during the regular season, and then it goes into you can pick which map that you're playing in playoffs, and the reason for this is so that way you have time to prepare. You can have meetings with your players, and if you want to talk about upcoming strategies for each map, you can talk about pros and cons, attack and defend. Like if we're defending, we should play this composition because A, B, and C, right? So that's why we go ahead and predetermine the maps for the regular season. As you can see, there is a chance that it changes. As maps go in and out of rotation for the competitive pool, we may need to go ahead and alter which maps are available, okay? That will always be updated in the announcements and on the rules and regulation document that can be found on League Spot. Lobby settings are important. Again, there's custom, tournament mode on, overtime win by 2 should be on. You should not be playing all 25 rounds unless it's, 13 to 12 and you're in overtime. You have to make sure that mature content is disabled, especially if you're streaming. That's not our rule, that is Riot's rule. So making sure that you are being complicit with their terms of service to allow us to run this title. If you want to stream or spectate your players, you are allowed to. There is a coach's slot available. You should be using the coach's slot to stream your player's perspective. You should not have access to both teams. That gives you a unfair advantage and a potential issue of competitive integrity that you're streaming both point of views for both teams. And as you can see, knowing where people are and what they're buying would give you an advantage, right? You can stream. Make sure you have a 2-minute spectator delay on. If you're using OBS, you just go under settings, and then I believe it's under advanced. You can go ahead and then determine how many minutes. Again, the only one that should be in the observer role would be our neutral third party. That's likely going to be Duda. He is a Milwaukee School of Engineering student who will be streaming our Match of the Week content. Playoffs, again, determined. Top 8 in varsity conference, hopefully. If we have 20 teams, then there will be 2 conferences of 10. Top 8 from each one will be seeded. It's essentially done 1A against 8B, and then you go down to 2A plays 7B, so on and so forth. So that way you're playing against other teams in the other conferences. First 2 rounds of playoffs are best of 1, and then semifinals and finals will be played at Lakeland University on May 17th. The finals and third place game will for sure be 3 rounds. We are still trying to determine if semifinals should be best of 3 or still best of 1. And the reason why is because I want to get you all on the road before 2 a.m., unlike last year's finals. So that's the plan. So stay tuned, I guess. And then League of Legends, very similar. Again, it's a 5-on-5 MOBA. It's available on PC. You have to have your Riot ID linked to your account. Have your players turn off their emotes, dances, mastery flashes, emotes, everything like that. Again, it's just a sportsmanship thing. I know some will be like, oh, this one's fun and cute. Like, yeah, sure. but when you're constantly flashing it over your enemy laner that you eliminated, that's unsportsmanlike. Okay. Um, Same thing. These are going to be best of one. Varsity is Wednesdays at 4. Again, it'll say 3:45 on League Spot, and that allows you to check in starting at 3:30. So for those schools that get out a little bit earlier, then you can start your matches earlier without needing to reschedule them and stuff. Same thing, if you haven't heard from your opponent by 4:15, then go ahead and mark a moderator, and that way then we can get to it and say so-and-so was a no-show and award a forfeit. Hopefully there are no forfeits though, at least no forfeits without prior communication. JV here, same thing, is the auto matcher format. So same thing, check in between 3 and 3:59, and you'll be automatically assigned an opponent at 4 o'clock. Just like Valorant, home team is left or top, depending on what you're looking at it. If you're home, you get to choose red or blue side, and there is an advantage to pick order with that. So if you take one, you get first pick, and if you take the other, you get last pick, which again comes into play when you're trying to strategize and determine which lane that you want to have an advantage in. So you could potentially counter pick the enemy top laner or mid laner or jungle. Again, use League Spot Match to coordinate. The only big difference here with League of Legends is in order to do tournament draft, you must have 20 champions available. They are no longer doing League Unlocked, which allowed you to award your IP address at school to unlock all characters available in the game. So that's unfortunate. If your players do not have 20 champions, don't sign up for varsity on the registration form, because you will not be able to compete in draft. If they don't have enough, JV we allow blind pick, which essentially means that you don't have to go through draft. So JV is great for newer players who may not have the necessary champion pool available in order to participate. Same kind of seeding situation. Again, top 8 from each conference. If we don't have a lot of varsity League of Legends teams, we'll just do a singular conference or a singular division, and then the top 16 will then be seeded in playoffs, 1 against 16, 2 against 15, as traditional seeding formats go. The first 2 rounds are best of 1, and then semifinals and finals are best of 3. Difference here is that these will be played Friday night at Lakeland University. The time start is TBD, but assume probably starting around 5 p.m. Each round of League of Legends takes roughly 2 hours for a best of 3 with picks and bans. Hoping that matches don't last 50 minutes. But you have to also include picks and bans in there as well. So we'll be able to have all semifinals played at once, and then students won't have to log out and move, and they can just play the finals right after. Community tournaments coming out here. March is Apex Legends. So same thing. You'll create a team on League Spot. Your players will be added to the roster. They will need to link their respawn or their epic to their account just so they can check in. The biggest thing with this one is if your players sign up, I need them to show up at 7 p.m. on Monday. If there are not at least 15 players that report on Monday, we cannot run this game. So like last year we had 17 trios sign up and 4 showed every week. So we weren't able to run any, well, we ran some, but that means I had to play by myself and drop solo, and playing Gibraltar by yourself is not an easy thing to do. And some of these kids are sweaty, so they just found me and ran me down. I did not have fun. So coaches, you're allowed to play in this one. So if you're a big Apex person, you're more than welcome to play with your students. Or if you have a team of coaches, by all means, squad up. April is going to be Magic the Gathering Arena, and I know that that's spelled wrong, so don't at me here. Um, Coaches, again, you're welcome. It's going to be the Alchemy format, so the rules are found in the rules and regulation document. Same thing. You can check in between 6 and 6:59, and you'll be assigned an opponent at 7 for that. Um, the big announcement that I have to be able to make is we've been approved to be able to run Marvel Rivals. So we got the okay from the developer. So April is also going to feature Marvel Rivals. Hooray. Thank you, developers, for getting back to us in a timely manner. I know everybody's been asking for it, so I can officially say, yes, we have the ability to run Marvel Rivals. So, woohoo! Um, Spring also has a 7 week long season for students only. It is Brawlhalla. It is cross platform, so again, you can play on any device, even mobile. So if you're interested in playing, coaches just create a league spot team for every single player. Same thing for Magic the Gathering. If you have 10 kids, you need 10 rosters, and then add those on there. Um, Ray, when do you think rivals would be put into our rotation? Well, I have a feeling that League of Legends is not going to be huge anymore this year, just based upon previous data. And so that pretty much means that it's an easy uh, pull one, add one. So that's what I'm hoping to add there. Um, so those are all the tournaments. This is kind of just, again, a weekly schedule of what this looks like. I can also add, I can post these in the Google presentation here too. So this is just a weekly breakdown. If you have questions, let me know. Again, I have to jump off here in like 5-ish minutes, so that way I can get the middle school Fortnite lobby up and running in order to be ready to go for that. So if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, I'm going to end the stream here, so you can ask either in the Google Meet, or if you want to email me additional questions, you can.